What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another cash game review session. Today we've got our friend Pelican playing 10 NL Russian cash on GGPoker. As always, guys, if you enjoy the content, please make sure you subscribe. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And as always, enjoy the video, guys, and I will see you in the next one. And let's go. Let's get into it. Recording's probably a little sloppy. I think that's on your end rather than my end, but at least we can see everything clearly, so it's fine. A little choppy, but it'll do. So, to be fair, like, before I learned a lot of GTO stuff, I was opening 3x under the gun. I was opening 3x from every position, and I was opening 4x blind versus blind. I think at the lower stakes, maybe now it's started to differ, because when I started playing cash games, there weren't as much resources around for cash games. So I think people were, I would say that people were 3-betting less, so 3xing was fine because, you know, you'd end up just taking it down a bit more, you won't get 3-bet as much, whereas now I think people have started to align to, you know, to theory a bit more. So I started moving sizes down when I got to 100 NL, I think, because, I mean, I just did, it was more money as well, so if you see the higher stakes, most people raise very small. Kings, we get 3 bets to a nice chunky size. We could call here. I don't actually mind calling. So when somebody makes it really big, because I don't want to have too many 4-bet bluffs here, I end up just calling a lot of my range. So because it's so big, the bigger the raise size, the smaller the stack to pot ratio is going to be. I don't mind calling hands like aces and kings here just because, you know, when we call there's going to be 28 big blinds in the pot. And so we can trap these hands. I actually don't mind calling here. But generally speaking, aces, kings, always going to be a 4-bet in position. Oh, good luck to you, sir. Did you just 3-bet fold? Like, what size did we go here? 29s, this is probably too big in position. In position, we can go very small with 4-bets. So we could probably make this 26 and it'd be absolutely fine. In fact, we definitely can in position. Basically, we can go 2x or like 2 point... I mean, I guess that's like 2.2, but... I don't know. I guess it's fine. And then we're going to do the same thing again, basically. But obviously it's a slightly different size. So again, I'm going to go about 21 big blinds here. Okay, we go for the smaller size here. I think this is absolutely fine. So I don't even hate going a little bit bigger here. But here, the reason I'd be going smaller is because his 3-bet's so big. To 13.5, like I don't want to just make, I don't really want to like 4-bet fold to 30 big blinds, so I don't, and I should theoretically have some 4-bet folds, so I'll be using a smaller size, so you know, firstly we can bluff more often, and secondly just because when they're out of position it's so hard for them to defend to it because they're out of position, if that makes sense. Running to aces obviously. Because there's kind of signs that he could maybe have aces. The 3-bet's very small when you see that a lot. I would note this, especially if he's like a reg or at least a regular player. Just the sizing that he went 9 big blinds, small blind versus button with aces. And then if you notice him 3-bet later on and he picks bigger sizes, it might actually be a tell. I know that sounds like so daft because we've only played one hand with him, but it genuinely can be a tell. And yeah, we're drawn dead. That's not really ideal. Super standard though, we can look at theory. I think button, we basically versus small blind, I think we basically want to 4-bet jacks plus pure. So I don't hate calling jacks, especially against the fucking nits you play against in this day and age. But if you look at button versus small blind here, okay, well, raise your edge wants to call queens and jacks. In fact, no, sorry, I'm thinking of cutoff versus button, sorry. Cutoff versus button, we want a pure 4-bet jacks plus because we're out of position. Button versus small blind, we can start to flat some hands just because we're in position. And again, being in position makes it easier to realize your equity. This is using a 12. This is using a much bigger size here. And it's pure 4-betting jacks plus here, basically. Actually wants to 4-bet pure with 10s, which is pretty interesting. It wants to 4-bet all in with 10s sometimes. And ace queen. So do with that what you will. Which is pretty interesting. So different ranges will have different things. Obviously GTO Wizard is basically solved ranges against a version of itself to get to an equilibrium. You can do what you want with a hand like queens. I think I'm always 4-betting queens. Jacks I'm going to start to call sometimes, you know. But yeah, I think that's fine. A lot of action in this. I was hoping we'd get an easy start. Right, we go for the 3-bet of the ace 3 off BVB, which I think is fine. I don't hate checking this flop. I don't hate betting a really small size. I think I don't mind checking this down on the flop and then using it as a bluff catcher on later streets. You'll see a lot of players just fold hands like 9s or whatever on this board, and 10s plus should be 4-betting. So it's kind of difficult to get called by that many worse hands, with the exception of flush draws, which could potentially check raise. Depending on what kind of strategy you want to have on this board, if you want to see bet your entire range very small, I don't hate it. Probably going to work in these pools. People are going to be a bit more fit or fold. But yeah, I'm probably checking back this exact hand. Jacks, we're going to 3-bet. And villain's going to call pretty quickly. Size-wise here, a little bit big. I think this is a little bit big. We are slightly deeper, so I think it's fine. I think so. Somewhere around 3 times their raise in position for a 3-bet. Somewhere around 4 times their raise out of position for a 3-bet, I think is more than enough. So I would like 7.5 is fine. I guess 9's kind of like on the verge of being too big, but seeing as we're a little bit deeper, I'll allow it. And we get 1 over on the board. We block 2 combos of Queen Jack suited. 5s and 7s he could definitely have. I think I'm more inclined to bet this than I am the ace 3, because this wants maybe a little bit more protection from overcards, whereas the ace 3 blind versus blind, we have top pair, so there's no overcards that can come. But again, I don't mind checking. I don't mind betting small. It depends on Queen 7-5 super disconnected. Ding ding fucking ding. So I think we can bet quite a lot on this kind of board for a small size. I think like when we're the 3-better, when we have queens, kings, aces, and they probably don't or shouldn't, at least theoretically, I think it's fine. The turn, definitely a check, because it's pretty bad for us in general. They could maybe have 6s. They have like 8s and 9s, which we're ahead of, but they're going to pick up equity. But they also have like 5, 6 suited, 6, 7 suited, 8, 9 suited potentially, which we have as well probably, but generally speaking it's a bad card. I don't know how bad it actually is if we look at ranges, but it's a straight completing card, and these ones generally we want to be a bit more careful on. I think we can still bet hands like aces if we unblock the top pair, but obviously jacks is probably getting too thin to bet, and then we drill the best card ever on the river. Size wise here, I don't mind going... I don't really like this. I'm not really a huge fan of this small size. Why have you gone the small size, Pelican, out of interest? While we're waiting for your answer, on the right, this board's really, really good for us. If this is going to work, it does. So I don't mind betting this a lot when villain checks to us in the small blind. And then we could probably bet the turn for value, to be honest. Let's see what we do. Yeah, I don't mind this. We block 10-8. It's unlikely he's going to check raise that often on this card. We have top pair and a gutter, double gutter. So on the left, I think that we could just go bigger. Like, I think that, especially unblocking the top pair, like if we have a hand like pocket queens, it's very unlikely he's going to have a queen. So we need to target maybe something like ace jack suited, or pocket 8s, pocket 9s. The thing about this is, like, when you bet this small, even though you're giving a really good price to like 8s or 9s, you're not going to see bluffs like this a lot. So if I have 8s or 9s here, I'm probably just always folding. I do agree that, like, yeah, he's probably going to bet a lot of queen X on the river. But the thing is, when he does have a queen, he's going to call 10 big blinds, and he's going to call probably 25 big blinds. And I think that, like, let's say he's got 8s in this exact hand, right? Or that kind of range. 8s, 9s, ace 5 suited. He's probably going to fold to that size, right? Maybe he could call some hands, but, like, you're not going to value bet anything worse than 8s. Like, even for a small size, you're just not, right? So, like, we could even value bet, like, ace-jack for this size, right? And, yeah, I just think that he's just going to fold so often anyway with the weaker part of his range that we might as well try and attack the stronger part of his range. If we had pocket queens, I'd be all for this. I'd be all for the smaller size. Also gives incentive to bluff as well. It gives him a little bit of room to bluff when you bet the small size, whereas when you bet bigger, they're going to bluff a lot less often, I would say. But I think when we just drill that jack, we just go big here and just go polar. You might even get like a crying call from a hand like 8s anyway if you like bet like pot. Because we've checked the turn, like, he's not going to expect to have aces, kings, or like ace queen, or like pocket queens. So, I don't know. I think we should just go big there. So jack 9 suited, we're folding under the gun, which I think is absolutely fine if we're using the 3x size. So let's have a look. GTO Wizard would be opening most of the time, but not always. And here it's pure opening. So I don't know what you're opening to open to 23%, because if you're not opening Jack 9 suited, you're probably opening 10 9 suited. But if you're not opening, let's say, Jack 9 and Queen 9 suited, then, and this is 18% here, then 23% is going to be wider. So you're probably opening these hands which have less playability, or maybe like these hands and these kind of hands which have less playability. For what it's worth, I think if you are raising 3x in the earlier positions as well, that you don't want to be, but you're folding King Jack as well, which again I think is fine. But how are you opening 23% if you fucking folding? If you're folding the bottom of these, that's going to be less than 23%. It doesn't matter. I don't need to know your exact percent, Pelican. That's fine. If you're folding King Jack off and Jack 9 suited off under the gun, it's fine. They are, in the GTO sense, they're 0 EV hands. I think at these stakes you can open them, but if you're opening bigger, we should be tighter from the earlier positions. So I'm absolutely fine with folding King Jack off and Jack 9 suited. But I also think we should just open 2.5x and just play those hands. I'd like to see a sample big enough as well to determine whether opening 3x does tend to have people 3-bet less. This is getting dicey here on the left. We bet and we get 2 calls. And we bet for a relatively big size into 2 players, 4 big blinds. I think we just kind of have to check this turn and just, I don't know, fucking, I don't know what we want to do, to be honest. It's getting a little bit thin for value. The thing is, there's so many cards that are just shit, like any heart, a 3, a 7, even a 5, an ace. And I think we just have to check. Hang on, what do we fold on the right hand side? Sorry, hang on a minute. No. What do you mean, fold? Have you ever seen a range that folds fucking King 10 suited under the gun in your entire life? King 8 suited, it's opening pure here at 50 NL. I know this is a min raise. Let's see if we can have a look at the general 2.5. So this is a 2.5x. It's still pure opening King 8 suited, even though it's 0 EV. Literally, King 10 suited. It's not like super high EV, but you look at these hands, neither are they. Sorry, what on earth is this? Would you like to explain yourself there, Pelican? Hands like King 10 off go in the muck. King Jack off, I'm fine going in the muck. King 10 of hearts, and you think folding? Suited broadways are an open from any position. Can't be doing this. Pelican, you need to explain yourself. I'm not having it. Check. And yeah, we win here, which is... Maybe we get called. It might even get called in 2 spots, to be honest. He should obviously 3-bet. He shouldn't really have any calls from this position. I would tag him as a tight player and note him that he flatted MP versus under the gun with jacks. But then you'll fucking defend Jack 8. I mean, this is blind on blind, but... Right, for what it's worth, this is fine. But, like, come on, man. Fucking hell. King 10 of hearts. We can have some fun with this hand. I don't mind raising. And then we go absolutely batshit on like, spades and stuff. But how can you, like, you know, be raising a gutter and a backdoor flush draw here in position, but just folding King 10 of hearts under the gun? When you said 23% that you raised under the gun, did you mean 2.3%? Kind of dicey when he calls so quick. I don't mind betting here and then barreling the shit out of a spade. So I also don't mind checking back and drilling the gutter. This would the thing is, like, when you drill this like 10 of hearts here, like if you bet big on the turn and then he calls, you just get the rest of it on the river unless he has a misdraw. So this would be, let's say we bet the turn, which I think would be fine, and then the river was like the 2 of hearts. It'd be the worst hand ever to bluff because we would block hands that we want him to have, like Jack X of spades, 8x of clubs, Jack 10, King Jack, stuff like that. So it'd be a terrible card, like. So what you need to recognize is these kind of hands, sometimes you're going to bluff the turn and then bluff the river on a certain river. Sometimes you're going to bluff the turn and then check. So if this was a 2 of hearts, I'd probably bluff the turn here, and then I'd go all in on a spade. I'd go all in on a 10, obviously, for value. I'd go all in on an 8 where 10 jack gets there. I'd probably go all in on a king where 10 jack gets there. So I'd use my Jack of spades blocker to go all in on rivers where we can have those 10 jack hands. We can have Jack X of spades, we can have spades, and we'd block them. So I don't mind betting the turn and then using this card to bluff on certain rivers. Again, if it was a super brick, though, it'd be a really bad hand to bluff with. Anyway, we just check back and drill the fucking effect. Not even the effective nuts. He has probably all combos of King Jack. Why are you scared to bet big with nutted hands? Okay, we're not. It's kind of nice to see that you do bet small, because most people will never bet small with their really strong hands. But at these stakes, it basically doesn't matter. At the low stakes, guys, when you've got good hands, bet big. As simple as that. Because otherwise you're just going to miss out on money. I'm probably going bigger than this. Because 2 flush draws missed and people will be like, herder, I've got like king, queen, I call. Which wouldn't even be the worst call for what it's worth. Ace queen we open, we see bet for about half part, I don't hate. Checking back the turn. And hoping he checks on the river. On the right hand side we get check raise to this size. So we're not folding, I know that much. I think we just have to call. I think you're just going to see... So when you consider about raising the river, so whether you raise versus a bet or you raise versus a raise, i.e. you 3-bet the river, you have to consider that first of all you need to have the best hand often enough, but you also need to consider a hand that's going to call that's worse. So basically what you need to consider here to go all in without the nuts is to consider how often he's going to raise a worse hand than yours for value and then call an all in, right? And most players won't. They probably, like, you're looking at specifically pocket tens. If you're against a whale that massively overplays his hand, then he might raise something like 9-10 or queen 10, right? Or like pocket fours that try to slow play. You will have players like this that will then call a jam. I think that here it's just going to be king jack or a bluff, and it's not even going to be a bluff, it's just going to be fucking king jack. So probably just call and lose to king jack. I would bet money here that he's got king jack at evens. I would bet money at evens that he's got king jack. I think the percentage chance is greater than 50% that he has king jack here, because that's how people play. I just can't see bluffs. Just call and lose. Oh, fuck me. Jesus. I would have lost out on some money. 5-7 of clubs would be a terrible bluff. I don't mind his bluff. I like his bluff. So I was thinking for bluffs, he would have to have something like jacks and turn into a bluff, which most people don't. Because he can't really have something that bet calls the flop with a jack in it that isn't king jack, jack 10 or jack 8. But you can have ace jack with the ace of spades, which is a very specific hand, I guess. Anyway, I would tag him as like, I'd give him the orange tag for me, which is agtard, which just basically means they're capable of bluffing. It's so important to note people that will check raise bluff in a spot like that, because so many fucking people won't. So I actually just don't mind his play. I don't like his back call on the flop. I think check raising or check calling the flop is way better in his spot. But this is a thing. So most people, when they check raise that size, they're just polar, right? So, but they're just polar between the nuts and nothing. Like, they just won't have, like, pocket tens there, even though they probably should. But then I don't know if they're going to fold versus a jam. Stokes. Fold, he has it. Call, he never has it. Anyway, well played, I think. And the ace queen we just checked down. I think it's too thin to bet for value on that river. And he should probably almost definitely bluff that hand. And he doesn't. So you see the huge difference here. So they both have the same hand. They both have ace high, right? This guy blocks the straight. I mean, this guy should just, like, if you look at these hands, this I don't mind check folding on the right. This I'd really like fucking check raising on the left. And this guy's gone for it. What a fucking boss. Good luck to him. And this guy's just like, I check. To be fair, he has the nothing. It's not the worst check ever. But at the same time, let's say we're betting a lot of our range on here. We could bet 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 7, 8 suited, 9x, king x. If he bets pot, we have to fold most of those. Ace queen, we have to fold versus pot, right? 10 jack gets there. Flushes get there. You know, we can still have some 2 pairs. Fucking weirdos, mate. Splash pot. We're not going to talk too much about splash pots. We should limp or raise here. We should probably VPip 100% on the button. Should we? When it's fold round to us? I think we should probably VPip 100% on the button. We can, like, just because, like, people will massively under-defend, I think. We can probably just, like, 7x this on the button with, like, range and it'd be fine. I actually think we should just literally raise, like, 7 or 8 big blinds. It's a bit annoying that he has 50 bigs because he just gets a fucking sick price on a shove. Like, an unbelievably good price on a shove. But I think we should limp or raise here. Alright, mate. Simmer down. 6s we raise. We get 3-bet. I'm definitely calling now. Are you okay? I don't like this. I am just not a fan of this. No. Why have you done this? What, I mean, now we're all in. What ranges have you ever seen that 4-bet sixes? So in terms of 4-bet bluffs, I probably prefer it at, the thing is, I prefer it at 150 bigs deep, because 100 bigs deep, once you 4-bet, you probably have to call an all in. But just go and have a basic look at ranges and look at what it 4-bets with, blind versus blind. I mean, to be fair, actually, to be fair, it's got the tiniest bit of 4-bet. But it actually wants to 4-bet all in more than it wants to 4-bet. Or similar thingy. Which kind of makes sense. I've never seen that it 4-bets these hands. I mean, this is 100 big blinds deep. 3 versus 10. I really don't like it, though. I'd much rather 4-bet something that has, I don't know, playability and... Well, this is 4-betting fuck all, to be fair. It's mainly 4-betting these kind of hands, like ace-10 off and like ace-jack off, king-jack off and stuff. I don't mind some like king-8 suited and shit like that as well. Yeah, this is using king-9 suited, ace-4, ace-5, ace-3 suited. Just things where you actually block some stuff. Like, I really don't like this. Let's see if we can have a... Oh, it's got 150 big ranges now. This is going to be something I might actually have to study. But this is 3-betting to a much bigger size. No, it's still 4-betting sometimes, yeah. So what happens actually just at 100 bigs deep if we 4-bet sixes? Do we ever call? Because we do it so little... Yeah, it wants to 4-bet call sixes. I think 4-bet call sixes at 10 and L might be losing. No shit, 4-betting at 10 and L is going to be losing. 4-betting sixes is going to be losing. We probably want to... I don't know what we fucking want to do. Jesus Christ, this is just such a nonsense board. This is such a nonsense spot. How many times do you go to a turn with pocket sixes and there is 4 to a straight? Like, this is the most random hand I think I've ever seen. I don't think anyone in this chat, with the exception of Pelican, will have ever gone to a 4 to a straight board, 3 to a flush with top set with 76 bigs in the middle. The rest of it goes in, but we should probably check. So we should probably check the flop because it's bad for us. I literally don't mind check raising flop and just getting it in. The turn we should probably just check jam, I guess. So we just have to get it in now, like... I mean, yeah. I mean, what? So the thing is, this card is so bad for us. Like, think about it. What can we actually bet on this turn, right? The idea of a card this bad, so we want to check so many hands here, right? That we should probably just check our good hands as well. If we have aces with no spade, we don't want to put money in here. We really don't want to put money in, so we want to check. If we've got like ace king of diamonds, we definitely don't want to put any money in. We want to check. So when we have a flush or pocket sixes, or like 7-8 suited if we have a 4-bet that, we should probably check those hands for balance as well, so that way we still have some strong hands. So theoretically, we can't just get like put in the bin when we just have, you know, if we're betting our sixes, our flushes, and then we're checking everything else, he just clicks the bet button twice, and then we have to start calling with one pair on a 4 to a straight 3 flush board. Because if we don't, then we're folding our entire range. So definitely check this turn. The rest of the money goes in because we've got fucking top set in a 4-bet pot. The whole hand was nonsense. Just, I don't give a shit what GTO Wizard says here. It's at 10 and L, don't 4-bet sixes. Just don't do it. It's just not worth it. It's alright. No. No. No cap. No cap. If you'd have folded that hand, I was ending it. We were done. I said that if anybody folds 7-8 suited in an unraised pot, sorry, not 7-8 suited, if anybody folds 7-8 of clubs in an unopened pot, if anybody open folds, I'm going to quit the review. The problem with this is that this is way fucking lower EV, but look at how much it's opening here. The red here is how often it's opening it. So it's, that's the strategy plus EV. Let me look at the strategy. So it's opening it 20% of the time. So yeah, you literally did it just because you knew I was going to kick off. Okay, that's fine. But still, like, you can't be going around folding king 10 of hearts an opening 7-8 suited. The 7-8 of clubs, I'm very glad you opened it because I would have had to end it. King 10 suited is way higher EV, so if you are opening this pure, which you're probably not, you probably just did it for me and for the lulz. This could be a fun board to triple off as well. And if it's 7-8 of clubs, I've got to give you fucking respect for it. He's bottled it. I would have tripled this hand. Because I kind of want to bet this river, but we don't rep all that much now. I mean, look, you should bet the river though, bro. You should bet the river. We don't block any strong hands, but like his queen jacks, stuff like that, all want to bet. I guess we block hands like 7s and 8s and like 7-5 of like clubs and stuff, so it's not the best bluff to have, but like you've got 8 high, man. Like I just don't like it when people check back 8 high. It's like, what do you mean? You've got 8 high, you can't win the pot by checking, you just lose. 9-7 suited, we are going to defend. I think we can maybe 3-bet this at a small frequency, but oh hello. This is what's known in the poker world as flopping gin. So we're gonna check and then we're gonna just put lots of money in. We're going to put lots of money in on the flop, and then we're probably going to put lots of money in on most turns, and then we're going to decide what we want to do on the river. Okay. Check raise in this flop, I would say, is basically mandatory. So we want to check raise this flop when we have good hands. We could have pocket 8s, we could have pocket 5s, could probably have pocket 10s at a small frequency. We could have 10-8 suited, we could have probably 8-5 suited. We want to raise with those hands because they're good hands. So what do we need to do when we raise good hands? Theoretically, we need to balance with bad hands or bluffs. What we should do is use our best bluffs first and then use our worst bluffs later. So we always want to bluff our best bluffs. What are our best bluffs? Hands that have good equity but no or little showdown. What do we have? We have 9 high that has no showdown. How much equity do we have? Fucking loads. We've got an open ender and a flush draw. So let's just put loads of fucking money in. So one of the best bluffs here, well, the best bluff we're going to have probably is Jack 9 of clubs, where we have an open ender, a flush draw, and a overcard to the board. We can then have 9-7 of clubs. We could have Queen Jack of clubs, where we've got 2 overs and a gut shot. We could have 6-7 of clubs, where we've got an open ender again, but the lower end. We could have Jack 9 of spades, where we have the backdoor flush draw, etc., etc. So I'm going to be using those hands first for check raise bluffing, and then, you know, we start to maybe bluff some like hands like ace 9 of clubs, where we have the flush draw, overcard, and backdoor straight draws as well. So yeah, basically always a check raise. If you don't check raise, you're a fanny. Imagine c-betting that size on 10-8-5 suited. I agree, I don't like it, but you'll see so many people bet a third with basically their entire range. And that's something to note as well. So if you're on a site where you use a hood, GG is not one of those. Look at c-bet stats and then maybe even the size of c-bets and look at the notes and stuff. So if you see people that are just c-betting like 90% in position and they use this small size, check raise the living fucking shit out of them. Because they're going to have so much air and they're probably not defending enough to check raises anyway. And so we can just basically check raise all of our bluffs. We can check raise hands like fucking 6-7 of hearts and stuff like that, which doesn't really make a good check raise. But if they're just c-betting this like with range, then just fucking put them in the bin. Ace King here. So I know GTO Wizard doesn't mind 4-bet jamming here. I don't think we need to have 4-bet jams at all. But if we're going the bigger size in and he 3-bets bigger, I think 4-bet shoving all in is absolutely fine. Doing whatever you want on this board as long as we bet small when we bet. Yeah, something like this I think is fine. I don't mind basically checking range on this flop. I kind of want to check this turn and just allow some bluffs maybe. I'm probably going to check the turn and then just shove on most rivers. As played, just all in on the river. Yeah. We're trying to target ace queen suited, ace jack suited, put those hands in spots. If he folds, he folds. When we have the nut kicker here, we can definitely go for 3 streets of value. When we have, you know, aces, less so, I guess, we'll definitely have to be checking. But if we 4-bet ace queen or ace 5 suited, we might want to check just to allow some more bluffs. Whereas ace king, you know, he can have ace queen and ace jack and stuff like that. The better our kicker, the more we want to bet, like in terms of in terms of frequency, the more often we want to bet. 8's 3-betting versus button, 10 big blinds. I guess that's fine. This, I think we can go either way on this board. I think that solvers generally mix here. We'll have a look and see what it does. Maybe it even just wants to bet 8s a lot. It's so shit 8s when you end up getting called and being out of position. This is again another good hand to talk about equity versus EV, because your equity realization isn't great, because you get boards where there's overcards. You know, you're only really happy when you smash a set. So it doesn't have that much playability, and so the equity realization is bad, so the EV of that hand isn't as good as, let's say, 10 jack suited, where you can flop more draws and, you know, like pair plus combos and shit like that. But let's see what it wants to do with eights here. Ace, queen, jack, diamond, diamond, club. I think it just mixes. So it's leaning towards check. It's betting more often when we have a diamond. In fact, it's basically pure checking when we don't have a diamond. You probably can't see the difference in combos. But yeah, basically pure checks when we don't have a diamond, and it bets just over half the time when we do have a diamond. Once we do check, villain will probably only be using smaller size bets, and my guess is that we're just mainly folding. Yeah, we're just pure folding eights. So if we do decide to check, then we're going to fold every time versus a bet, but we can bet sometimes when we have a diamond. Let's have a look what we want to do when we do bet. So it's mainly just using the small size in this board. So let's say we bet and button calls. Do we just fucking blast off on diamonds? I think I'll probably mix. I'm mainly betting though. And then let's say it's a total brick. I wonder if there's a difference between a 5. Okay, and then it ends up all in on the river. So if it does this, so you'll see this a lot in these kind of like spots. So when something mixes, when it does decide to bet, it a lot of the time ends up bluffing. And the problem is that people will end up doing things that a solver doesn't want to do. For example, they'll see that they can bet pocket eights on this flop. When it wants to bet on the flop, it will a lot of the time end up tripling on diamonds. So like if it's like diamond brick, let's have a look if it's like a total brick, because the 5 might do some things. It actually wants to jam more often on the deuce, and it just basically pure jams here. The problem with this is that people will see that we bet 8 some of the time, and then so it'll just be like, okay, we'll bet 8s and then just go all in when there's a diamond, which probably is going to be okay. Like people will probably like overfold, but the fact is it's only betting like 8s like 33% of the time. So it's only betting 8s with a diamond, sorry. It's only betting 8s in total like 20% of the time. So people will see that you can bet here with 8s with a diamond, and then they'll see a diamond and they're just like, okay, we'll roll in. And they'll just like bet jam 100% of the time when there's a diamond with 8s with a diamond. And then you're like, theoretically, if you're using that and then as well as 7s and stuff like that, you're just going to be massively over bluffing. Anyway, the reason why we can do this with 8s, the 8 of diamonds will block some flushes. 8, 9 of diamonds, probably 10, 8 of diamonds, 7, 8 of diamonds, Jack 8 of diamonds, King 8 of diamonds, I would imagine they have on the button. But also we're really low down in our range with 8s. Like we'll have hands that want to bet jam. Probably most sets can still bet jam for value, and obviously all flushes, so we're going to want to bluff. And our natural bluffs, because we'll be 3-betting a lot of suited cards, we don't have that many offsuit combos. And when we do, it's going to be the high ones like ace, queen, ace, jack, which aren't going to want to bluff. They're going to want to bet for value, if anything. So we can use hands like 8s or 7s with a diamond as bluffs. This ace, queen is really shoddy here. I actually really don't know what I want to do. I'm probably folding, genuinely. So I don't really like calling 3-bets with ace, queen offsuit out of position. I generally always use it as a 4-bet bluff. His sizing is fucking massive. I know we're going the 3x. But like he's basically 4x'd in position. We are a little bit deeper, so it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I really hate calling out of position with a hand like ace queen R. I'm probably just 4-betting to 24 and just praying he folds. I think I prefer 4-bet to call, but I'm okay with any option here, to be honest with you. But I like call the least. I think I like call the least. This king 6 we want to bet here for value. Probably small size on 4 to straight. See, now we're going to have a tough time with this ace queen. Just check calling here. We want to keep bluffs in. We are never folding flop. And now if he has ace 10 suited or ace king or 10s, we get stacked. So theoretically, he can bet jam worse for value. Generally speaking, I would say if you beat value and you can beat bluffs, then just never fold. And we can theoretically beat value, and we can obviously beat... Jesus Christ, I thought you were going to fold the turn. And now we only lose to ace 10 and a very unfortunate 6s, so now we just check call. Honestly, I will go as far as to say that on a river, that is just the absolute nut hand for him to have for us, because obviously the only card that gives him the nuts, the nut straight gives us the nuts. So honestly, you probably, like, he should just triple that. Like, imagine not tripling that. his best triple, to be fair, would be Queen Jack of spades, because he'd block ace queen and ace jack suited, which are some of your strongest hands. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter that much when... I mean, I guess he doesn't want to bluff this, does he? Because what are you going to fold? I forgot that it was ace ace 6 10 6. I forgot it double paired on the river. Ignore that. That was nonsense. But I actually don't mind his play for what it's worth. But if this 6 was like the deuce of hearts, he should just go all in. Anyway, what you'll probably notice is most people don't triple rivers in 2021 and probably in 2022. Because in poker, in this day and age, everyone's a fanny and nobody bluffs the river. Right, the good news is as well that we're... Oh, you opened king 10 suited from under the gun, did you? So why did you fold it the first time? That's even worse. Because at least if you're folding it for a reason, if you're folding it because of the table or whatever, no, because king 10 suited is a pure open, but why would you fold it this time? Why did you fold it last time and you're opening it this time? It just shows a lack of focus. Heat check, shut up. And this is a problem with why I say don't bother using randomizers as well. Because people will be like, well, I'm going to randomize. And it's like, you're going to randomize a spot that's not even fucking supposed to be random. It's supposed to be pure. The idea of using a randomizer is for GTO decisions when something's a mixed frequency and you want it. So say you're supposed to do something half the time, right? In a GTO sense, we can look at GTO Wizard and the spot where it wants to bet 8. So it wants to bet 8s with a diamond 33% of the time. So you would roll, and if you rolled 0 to 33, you would bet, or you know, 66 to 99 or whatever you would bet, and then the other times you would check. That's why you would use a randomizer when you know these frequencies. If you don't know frequencies, what the fuck are you using a randomizer for? You're just randomly randomizing. Random. Standard is fold this time. Rec was on big blind. The standard should be open, bro. This is a little bit out of line. This is probably fine. I'm actually kind of... It's so weird, though, that you do this. So I always say that, like, people don't 3-bet from the big blind against the earlier positions, particularly light, very often, right? Because you end up just getting a good price. So I'm shocked by this, because I see this and I'm getting like a good price here, and I'm just like, okay, I've got ace 3 suited, I want to see a flop. I think we can 3-bet this sometimes. Let's have a look. So GTO Wizard wants to, it doesn't want to use this, it wants to use ace 4 and ace 5, but a low frequency, because we're getting such a good price, we can just call these hands. It wants to be a bit, use these kind of hands where they don't have as much playability, right? Or like these for board coverage, like 6 7 suited, 7 8 suited. It's even using like ace 4 offsuit a little bit. So yeah, this is using ace 5 suited rather than ace 4 or ace 3, but they're going to have, you know, similar kind of EV. It's not actually using that much as 3-bet bluffs. It's using these at a small frequency, but this is more... So this is obviously solutions where it's just going to be solved. The raise your edge is more, I guess, kind of exploit for the lower stakes. So this is part of the cash game course, which basically says how to play from 2NL to 50NL, basically. You prefer call with small suited aces against 3x, I 3-bet against smaller opens. That's the wrong logic, Pelican. It sounds like it's the right logic, but it's the wrong logic. If somebody opens a smaller size, we get a better price on a call, so we can call, right? When somebody opens a bigger size, we get a worse price on a call, but there's also more to steal. So if anything, if somebody's opening the same sizes and they're not just doing it on the strength of their hand, then it's actually better to 3-bet versus a bigger size than it is a smaller size. So I understand what your logic is, but it's actually incorrect. That you want a 3-bet versus a 3x more than you'd want a 3-bet against a 2.5x. What did we fold on the right, yeah? I think we can defend this even versus under the gun, you know. What the fuck are you talking about? Stop doing this shit. First of all, we shouldn't be folding anyway, but we can defend this against fucking certain positions. The button opens, like, we can defend this. You've just folded when nobody's even fucking made you fold. Stop doing this. It's really bad because first of all, you get to see a free flop, right? And what if the flop is ace 2-5 all spades and somebody's limped the small blind with aces, or somebody limps under the gun with aces? You lose out on fucking 138 big blinds, potentially. You're losing EV by doing this. Just fucking wait. Not to mention that you can defend this against certain positions, so it's even worse. Nonsense. Right, jacks. So we go for the full 4x 3-bet, which I don't hate. You know, I'm not a huge fan of it, but theoretically I think it's fine. I think GTO Wizard wants to 3-bet generally to 12 from the small blind anyway versus bottom cutoff. Versus bottom anyway, because it's against 2.5. And I have no idea. My guess is that we're mixing on this board. This guy looks like a fun player, not playing a full stack. 50% VPIP. That could be wrong, though. I wouldn't trust the GG HUD too much. And then he just makes our decision extremely easy. Now, when you know people do this, this is something you should tag. You should note him as, and just note the hand that we 3-bet small blind versus cutoff. We checked on an ace-king-9 board. He bet pot. That means whenever we have aces, kings, ace-king, or ace-queen, we should just check because he's going to blast a lot of stuff. Now, maybe he just blasts with good hands. But if he's going to blast like this, theoretically, this is terrible. First of all, he doesn't need to bet pot at all in a 3-bet pot because of the SBR. Second of all, this is a fucking terrible board for him. He doesn't have aces, kings, doesn't have ace-king at a full frequency. So he doesn't want to bet big on this kind of board. So note him for that. That's what we should be doing. Hello, aces. Ace-jack off is just not a call there, bro. Ace-jack off, this is just, so like, if it's ace-jack suited, I much prefer a call because it has more playability and we want to see a flop. Ace-jack off's kind of bad enough that we want to just 3-bet, and then if he 4-bets, good luck to him, we'll fold. Generally speaking, on the button, if you're playing flats, play hands that are going to play decently in position or are kind of easy to play. Suited connectors or suited broadways, you know, ace-jack suited, king-queen suited, stuff like that, or pocket pairs, right? We don't really want to, like, we don't want to call these hands. They're basically, in a way, not good enough to call, so we'll put it in a bluffing range because it has some good blockers, and then we just fold to a 4-bet. So this would be much better as a 3-bet, fold. I don't hate this, but we have to go batshit on a club. But I think we can just call in position, and we don't want to have too many raises in position. It's kind of weird. Your aggression is, you're showing aggression, but it's kind of like, not necessarily misplaced, but just, I don't know, I think it could be more targeted. So I guess misplaced. that's all. 8-9, it's so weird that you'll just open, like 8-9 off is probably okay blind versus blind. It's going to be borderline anyway, but imagine opening 8-9 off, but not fucking, imagine opening 9-7 off, but not opening fucking king 10 suited under the gun. I don't mind betting this turn, but I think I bet this turn relatively small. One, because he still has 10x flushes and ace-x, but two, because if you bet big here, you can only really bet flushes. Like, if we bet small, we can still bet some ace-x, some 10x, and flushes. So I'm probably going for a smaller size here. I get why you're going for the big size, because you're like, shit, I need him to fold. But we can still bet, and then potentially even bet on rivers as well. 9-7, going for... I don't hate this. Again... Yeah, we probably should check the flop because this is really bad for our range. We could check call the flop and see a turn, you know, without worrying about getting raised. As played, we just triple it off now and hope he has something like ace-6, ace-8. Even, we could check, but the problem with checking this is that we don't really have that many... He doesn't have that many bluffs here. Once he calls 2 streets here and then the only draw gets there, I think just doing this makes sense. We might chop here with how fast he called, yeah. But we also, I'd be a little afraid of Jack-9 as well, so I don't mind check calling. Does allow maybe something like 5-6 to turn into a bluff. But yeah, and that's it. Well, I'll talk about how you played Pelican first, if you are still there. I think you played decently enough. I think that it's clear you have some sort of understanding of the fundamentals of poker, as well as like... So I've noticed that you've got kind of a good understanding of c-betting from the looks of things. You were c-betting bigger on certain textures. You were checking back certain hands on certain... I think maybe you over c-bet, but I think it's probably going to work in these pools. Sizes, I think pre-flop could be changed a little bit. Maybe start opening smaller from earlier positions. Your ranges you need to look at. Even if you find ranges that open 3x. Opening 3x is fine. Just take away the lower EV hands. Go to GTOwizard.com. Look at the... You get to see the EV of the hands, right? And it'll show you that King Jack off, Ace 10 off, King 8 suited under the gun. They're basically 0 EV, right? Whereas King 10 suited is going to be like, I don't know, 0.2 EV. But when it's that high EV, like compared to 0, you should always be playing it. Don't fold your suited broadways under the gun. Don't fold them from anywhere.